Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited to share with you how you can capture BACnet traffic from your JACE controller and save tons of time and effort. So before we get into housekeeping and our agenda and the demo and everything, I just want to launch a quick poll to ask how many JACEs you have in your portfolio. It looks like we have a fairly wide spread across the board, but the majority work with somewhere between 11 and 99. Or more than 250, and then we've got some who don't work with any, some who work with less than 10, and some who are in that 100 to 250 range. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and thank you so much for attending this webinar. Just to introduce ourselves, my name is Natalie, and I'm the marketing manager at Optico Networks, and I'm joined here today by Tom McGee, our sales engineer. Thanks so much for joining us, Tom.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So a few housekeeping items real quickly. If you have questions at any point during the webinar, please don't hesitate to ask. We have folks in the background who are here to answer your questions and support, and I'll also interject with questions as they're relevant throughout the webinar, or I'll hold them to the end for the question and answer portion. We also have a survey that we'd love for you to fill out at the end of this webinar. That just gives us feedback on the quality of this webinar, what we could do better, what we could do differently, if we went technical enough, or if you want us to get more into the nitty-gritty of things or slow things down. Yeah, we appreciate your feedback. As well, I'll mention that this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available on our YouTube channel, likely tomorrow. So you can rewatch it to your heart's content or share it with your colleagues. And you can subscribe to us on YouTube as well, so you never miss any of our videos. So a quick overview of our agenda for today. We're going to briefly cover the benefits of monitoring, sort of one of the major benefits you can get from capturing from your JACE controller and scheduling captures remotely is being able to collect more data and better understand the quality of your BACnet networks over time. We're going to go into an overview of the feature, what this all is, and dig into how you can set up to capture from your JACE controller. We'll show pulling BACnet data into Wireshark, and we'll also show you how you can capture remotely and schedule captures. We'll also diagnose some problems real quick and then trigger a capture remotely as well to show you how you can do that. And of course, there will be time for questions and answers. So as I mentioned, please feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar.
Thank you very much. So what we have in our Visual BACnet is we have two types of Visual BACnet licenses or so that we offer: our troubleshooting and our monitoring. Our troubleshooting being the more you upload a PCAP, you can troubleshoot that as a standalone file. We can look for improvements, make them on the network, make changes, and then take another capture, analyze that, so on. What we're seeing in front of us here is our monitoring. And our monitoring is taking all those troubleshooting features and just adding some more features on top of them to give us more granular, more real-time alerts, more knowledge on what's going on in our network. So the way this works here is we divide up our what are called monitoring nodes, and these are points on our network. You can think of them as locations. So as we have here, we'd have our branch or so, maybe a location of North Carolina, California, a BMS. We could have a building here, an organization or so, and then we would break down to our node. And really, when we click on this, you'll see we're getting this trend log of the health scores loaded on the hour, every hour. Possibly we trigger some smaller ones in between, and then we have this trend log building up here showing us a health score as it goes up and down, and we can get these alerts to go off the back of this, letting us know when something's changed, when something's been when we have flagged certain alerts that we're trying to keep an eye out for, or anything such as this. So giving us this on the hour, every hour, real-time data, we're able to really get a granular view of what's going on in the network and really capture everything. Very convenient for certain things like intermittent issues, especially when there's something like that. We'll have that caught as soon as it occurs the first time, rather than having to go back and try to recapture it. So really just giving us a very detailed, granular, transparent network or so.
Yeah. Tom, we're getting feedback that the audio is a bit intermittent, so maybe you can hop off video just to see if that improves the internet bandwidth.
Yes.
And I'm just going to switch back to myself as presenter, and we'll dig into a bit more about this feature. So a quick overview of the feature. Tom, do you want to take this slide?
Absolutely, thank you very much. So really what we're here to show today, or to showcase, is that new Wiretap feature in our JACE that we can use for our any JACEs where we have Niagara 4. So what it allows us to do is rebroadcast or recirculate some of that information from the MSTP side over towards our IP side and allow us to capture it on an IP capture tool or using our laptops or using anything such as that. So what we're really able to do is take anything that's using that Niagara 4, has that software, and we can then capture all that information. We are not going to be capturing the token passing information or that MSTP information that wouldn't be relevant to our IP side, but we will be recirculating all the information that's relevant, such as read properties, write properties, longest response times, and so on. This is very helpful as well, because if we're trying to capture on the MSTP side, usually we would have to add a serial connection or so, or wire our MSTP capture tool in, which then actually is added onto the twisted pair wire, which then affects impedance and actually changes our results. So by capturing on the MSTP side, we're not getting quite as accurate information, and this allows us to capture that information uncorrupted or so in that sense. As we can see in front of us here, here's a typical layout of how this setup would work. Having our MSTP capture, our MSTP devices on our MSTP side connecting to a JACE. This JACE is running Niagara 4, so we will be able to use or take advantage of that Wiretap feature. That information is then going to be recirculated into our IP side. We can have it rebroadcasted, or which we prefer to do ourselves is directed directly towards our capture tool, obviously just reducing the chatter on the network as a result. We can then forward that to our capture tool, which will take that capture and then upload it to our Visual BACnet, and we're just going to have all that information that we want to get from that MSTP side captured from that one capture location.
So I'll just break this down really quickly before we get into the more exciting live demo portion of this webinar. So you can capture BACnet data redirect a stream of traffic from your JACE controller running on Niagara 4, get that stream over to your computer where you can capture the BACnet data, and then upload a capture to Visual BACnet or analyze the data in Wireshark if that's what you're more comfortable with to diagnose problems. So we're gonna swap over to Tom so he can show us how all of this works in real time.
So we should be able to see that Facility Explorer or our JACE there. So as I log into this here, when we first come into our JACE, so the way we're going to set this up is we're going to go down to our MSTP ports and we're going to add that Wiretap function. So by navigating down through here, we will just go down to our MSTP network devices. As you can see, our MSTP ports, we have 2 ports here. By clicking on one of these ports, you can see I already have my Wiretap function added. But if I didn't have that added, what I would do is I would go to my palette here. I would come down to my, I would then have to come in, and if I have my settings here, I'll come in and I will add to my palette my BACnet utility. Oops. And apologies there, it doesn't seem to be jumping in. So we go to our palette there, we just add in our BACnet utility folder. There we go. In our BACnet utility, we drop this down, we go to our wiretaps, and we just grab that Wiretap forwarding Wiretap, and we drag it up into our MSTP port. And that's how we add that feature in. And then we just have to configure that to make sure that we're going to be forwarding that information to the right location.
It's so super simple, literally just a drag and drop process then.
Just drag and drop, very simple. That is already a feature that's available in the JACE or there for us. We just have to go and configure that. So it's not as if you have to go installing anything new or doing anything like that. So once we have that dragged into our MSTP port, we're just going to click on that Wiretap or that forwarding wire function there. We're going to come up here and just change our view. And now we're going to have that, what's seen in front of us there, just the configurable features. So here you can see that I'm already configured this to be forwarding to our capture tool. And we're going to make sure that that's on port 49,000. So this here is the first of 3 steps effectively. What we need to do is we need to recirculate the information, we need to capture the information, and then we need to analyze the information. So first thing we're doing here is we're going to recirculate that information. And I want to make sure that when I'm recirculating it, I'm sending it to that capture tool, the desired one. We could broadcast, but as you mentioned, it can be just less chatter, more convenient for us to go direct if we know where we're going, and make sure this on port 49,000. After this is set, we can save those features and just make sure that this is actually sending traffic. This is a dynamic feature here, or dynamic, result or value here. So we'll be able to see that change. We'll be able to see that as the packets go up and down, we're going to be able to see that we are passing information here. Now, what I will also do after we have this configured, and that's all that is required of us to configure this on our network or so, to make sure that we have everything set up from the JACE side. And while I'm here, I will just also show you how I'll just initiate a global whois, just so we can see some of that traffic as well when we do go in to analyze that file. So just go to my BACnet network here. We'll just go down and we'll discover. That'll just send out a global whois, which will give us some alerts or some traffic, some things to be analyzing when we do eventually go in and look at that file. So once we have this forwarding here, we're recircling that information around the network. We're sending that to our laptop that has our capture tool on it. So I can just show you here in our Wireshark as well, we are seeing that data indeed as well. So it's coming in on our Ethernet 2 here. And as I was to, if I'm to try set this up, what I would want to ensure I do as I'm capturing on my Ethernet 2 is make sure that I am also capturing on that UDP port 49,000, ensuring that as I've been sending it out on that port 49,000, I'm also going to be capturing. So as I start that capture here, we can start to see those information. We can see the destination being our laptop being recirculated from that JACE that we've jumped onto and configured. So we can see that information coming across there. You will notice that this protocol is being recognized as BACnet information. Now the reason for that, and I'll just stop this capture here now. The reason that we have this recognized as BACnet information and not unknown is that I have decoded this. So this is some feature that we would have to do as well when capturing on the side of the Wireshark, is we'll have to come through here and make sure that we know to add a function here. And then we're going to configure that to be port 49,000 as we see here, and converting that to BACnet traffic or BVLC. So we're going to convert that to BACnet values or so. So that's how we're going to capture, and we can see here that we're already capturing all this information and we're getting this forwarded. So it is definitely circulating around our network. After this then, as we can see that this information is here, my next step is to go onto our own capture tool and to make sure that we're capturing that. So this will be the step 2 of those 3 steps that we mentioned. Now that we've got that information, we've sent it to our, we've got that information from our JACE and resent it onto our IP side. We're going to go to our optical capture tool here now, and we're going to ensure that we're able to capture this information. This capture tool is obviously available online with install guides, and we have our support, and so we're always happy to jump on and help assist with setting up any of this here as well. As we can see, I have a scheduled capture running. Quickly before I stop that or we go analyze that, I'm just going to show you guys how we would set this up. So when we first come on, if we don't have a capture tool, if we don't have this configured, if it's our first time using it, we will see that server connection will not be up. Obviously, we need to set that up first. So the first thing we do when we log on here is we will go into our settings. Capturing over IP, we don't have to change to MSTP anymore now that we're going to be able to recirculate that. Capturing on that Ethernet 2, that same interface as we just saw on that Wireshark, and ensuring that we're adding that port 49,000 here. Standard by standard, we do only capture on port 47808 to port 47823. So it is vital that we do add it here, or else we will be recirculating that information, but we won't be capturing it, and then we obviously won't be able to analyze it as a result. Ensuring then as well that we're going to upload to app.visual BACnet, and that I have an API key associated with it. This API key is a code that is unique to each monitoring node, allowing us to upload directly to it, allowing us to have those scheduled uploads, those automatic uploads as well. If you ever want any more information on setting these up or how that API key works, we do have many documentation, and we're always happy to help with assisting with that as well.
And you'll see in the chat as well, we've posted the support links to set up and download the capture tools, which I will also mention are free to use.
Absolutely. So after we've set that up, thank you, Natalie. After we set that up, we then just need to create a schedule. So here we see we have our Wiretap schedule set up, and that's been capturing from our JACE, or the information recirculated from the JACE there. So if we were to set this up, we would just say a simple something such as test. How often would we like to repeat? Or we might repeat on the hour, every hour, ensuring that we're getting that real granular information. Duration 60 minutes, so we're capturing on the hour, every hour as well, making sure that we're running for that entire hour. If our device that we're putting this capture tool on for some reason was more older, maybe fully utilized or so, we may can drop that down. maybe to 59. If it has some issue, depending on the device we're putting this on, if that has issue finishing capture, uploading and restarting a new capture in the same second. And then we also have this time we want to start it at, which we would preferably not set to on the hour, as that is the standard time that's set. So you're more like, so a lot of our captures go up then. You probably see yourself getting a slightly faster upload if we don't go for the standard on the hour as well. I'll just set this for in the future here so we don't go instigating any capture just yet. And I can say end repeat, never or after a number of captures, possibly I want to capture just for 2 days or so. We'll say we'll do 48 hours of captures. Create that schedule, and then we're good to go. We're going to leave that capture tool there on site. We're going to have that capturing, uploading automatically to the Visual BACnet, and we can just jump on and see that trend log building, see that start to populate and get that granular information.
It's great that you can set it and forget it. You can get captures at 4 in the morning if you need to, and you don't have to do the manual effort of capturing or going on site or anything like that.
Exactly. And we not only do we not have to instigate the capture, but we don't even have to go and receive that capture. So we can just have that straight on our Visual BACnet uploaded for us. So now that we have that there, I'll go end this capture. And we will be able to see that just before I end it, actually, I'll just show us where we will be uploading to so we can see that. And it will be to this monitoring node that I'd shown. So with our network here, we have this populating and going across. And then as I terminate my capture, or I end my capture there, you can see that's being queued. It'll then start uploading and we'll be able to see it in our Visual BACnet. And there we go, uploaded. As we come across, we can see it's now processing and we're almost done and ready to view. So really quite handy, quite simple. And that is our step 2. So now that we've got that information, we've recirculated it, we've also captured it and ensuring that we're sending it out and capturing on that same 49,000 port. Now we can go and start to analyze this.
So just to recap, so we have all the details straight. You started by setting up the feature with Niagara 4, which was the simple drag and drop process. We got one comment from the audience noting that if the BACnet util does not show up in your palette, you may need to add or install it with the jar file. From there, we made sure that we're capturing on port 49,000, and we directed the stream of traffic to a computer where we could capture the BACnet data. So we pulled up the data in Wireshark, and we also set up a scheduled capture through Visual BACnet. So super quick, super easy process. And now we're going to take the BACnet data that we've captured and analyze it in Visual BACnet.
Perfect. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Natalie, and thanks for the comments as well. So, yep, so after we've uploaded those, we can always jump in and see them. That's a bit of a short capture we just had there, so we jump into a slightly older one, just the one we've captured just earlier today, one that we've earlier. So before I do jump in and start looking at this, we do have to ensure that before we go uploading that file and before we go terminating the capture, we have to make sure we complete our step 3. So I have already, of course, set this up to be processing that information. And as we saw it loading there, processing, it is processing and capturing or analyzing that information on port 49,000. Now I have to make sure that before I allow that to upload or process, that I have set our step 3 to be looking for that port 49,000 as well. And the way I do this is I go to my settings here and simply add that to port 49,000, add port 49,000 to my custom BACnet ports. So that is our step 3. That's our last thing we need to do, is just make sure that when we're circulating that information on port 49,000, we're capturing on port 49,000, and now we're going to analyze on port 49,000. So as you jump down then and view into a file, we can see that we're getting some of our information circulate around here, a lot of read and write property traffic. As we click into any of this, you can see that we are seeing these, we should be able to see our BACnet IDs or so, object instances. We're seeing our BACnet values there, we're getting those IP addresses or so, and we're able to see that we are capturing on that BACnet side with that MSTP data. But excessive reads, excessive writes, maybe we have to go change our COVs, we have to change the amount of times we're sending this information around, or some of this information here. We do get to see who it is, though, the culprits. We're getting that BACnet ID as well.
That's a lot of traffic we're seeing from that traffic rate graph. My goodness.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of stuff there for us, and it is very, very helpful for us to be able to capture this. And we can see that we are getting some error responses, some missing acknowledgements as well. These probably being as a result of a lot of this excessive read and write traffic. As we come in here again, we're able to see all this BACnet or this MSTP data and these MSTP sides of our information, or all our identifiers, all our device IDs. And there we go. So we are to see that we are seeing these networks here, our networks and our device IDs. So on the MSTP network 2111, device ID 8, or on network 1001, device ID 6, we are getting excessive read and write property traffic, or excessive write property traffic. We may need to look into why these are occurring, what is exactly happening there that these are happening to read or write so often. Maybe go in and start changing some of our COV values, our minimum intervals, our the delta that's occurring in order for our changes to cause new read or write properties. So just making sure that we are on that. And as we can see from our capture here, or our wiretap, that we are, our information is coming from the source of that JACE and being sent to our laptop that it has there. So we can see that our wiretap is indeed working, and we're capturing all that information on this side, and we are able to then start building up that information from both our IP and our MSTP side, and ensuring that this is also, as we say, uncorrupted. Those wires, there's no extra impedance on the wires, there's nothing being added there. So we are getting as pure information as we can, better than we would be if we were capturing, putting something on that MSTP twisted pair. I'll also just go over to our BACnet browser, or our device browser here, apologies, so that we can see all this information again, seeing those networks and seeing all this BACnet or MSTP information as well. So very simple there. For us to set it up, we're just going, as we say again, those 3 steps, that JACE, where we're just capturing that information, that capture tool, where we're, sorry, the JACE, where we're going to be recirculating the information, apologies, the capture tool, where we're going to be capturing the information, and the Visual BACnet, where we can come in and analyze. Very simple, just those 3 steps, and we're able to get all that information at our fingertips or so. We're really kind of excited about this feature, as we do think that it's going to be very useful for a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of benefit to it, and excited to see the kind of the feedback and how everyone's getting on with it as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, from what we saw in the poll of how many JACEs folks are working with, that's a lot of locations that you can capture data and better understand your network, which is fantastic.
Absolutely, absolutely. Perfect.
So we did have one question from the audience, if I can interject real quick. Does this feature work for both MSTP and IP traffic capture?
Yes, it's been fully tested on our MSTP side, and we know that it absolutely works there. And for all the testing we've done on our IP side, it is working as well, so it does work there. However, we've not done the full testing or so on the IP side. We still have a bit more testing we're doing to confirm, but it is definitely, so far, everything that we've tested works absolutely on the MSTP and IP side, whichever port we're looking to capture on.
And I will also mention our support chat. You can see on Tom's screen the little yellow button there. If you click on that and have any questions or need any help with getting set up, oh, thanks for having it up, Tom. If you have any questions when you're setting up or analyzing your BACnet data as well, we're always here to help. Yeah, we're always interested to see a new BACnet problem and try to help folks solve them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, that's going straight through to our phones around there, so we're always happy to jump on. And if it is even kind of, as you say, troubleshooting something like that, or even just, hey, I'd like some assistance in what I'm looking at here, or this is my first time using this wiretap feature, always happy to jump on, help, and just try to give it a little quick tutorial or so on using it as well.
We have another question, which was a great question. Can we direct the capture to a physical capture tool? If so, is the configuration process different than using the desktop capture tool?
Very good question. No, that would be the same capture, or that would be the same process or so. We're just going to have to point it towards our capture tool. So as opposed to the laptop, which we've installed that Windows capture tool on or so, we're just going to point it to our physical capture tool instead.
Perfect.
We can also do, as we say, set it as a broadcast. I do believe by default that we will be set as a broadcast, so that would be picked up by everything and anything, but causing more chatter on your network as well. So if we can direct it directly to our device, we will always probably take that advantage, or take advantage of that option.
Wonderful. I don't see any other questions actually. How can I get the software? Is it free or do I need to purchase?
Our capture tool is a free downloadable software. Our Niagara 4 would be depending on the JACE that you purchase, so that would be due to the JACE you have there. Then our capture tool, yes, is a free software, and our Visual BACnet is of course our licensed software here. So there's nothing additional. Once you have your Visual BACnet license, there's no additional cost for setting this up. It's not a bonus feature that we're including or anything. It's all just encapsulated in the one license.
Another question. The questions are flooding in. I love it. Please keep them coming. Can the tool be used if your laptop does not have internet connectivity?
Can the tool be used? Absolutely. So if we don't have internet connectivity, we can still capture that information. We just wouldn't be able to have that automatic upload. So as we see here, when you have your capture tool set up, you would probably set it up exactly like I have and just have a red no server connection here, in which case these will be stored locally. And then you would have to upload yourself, maybe take your laptop somewhere with an internet connection, let them upload, or else take them onto a drive or so and then bring them somewhere else to upload. But if you don't have an internet connection, everything will work here still the same. We would just not populate automatically up to our Visual BACnet server.
This is like pop quiz time. A few more questions that I'm seeing so far.
Really?
Does the capture add traffic on the MSTP trunk?
Does the capture add traffic on the MSTP trunk? No, I don't. It doesn't. I do not believe so. So what's happening there on our side is where all the information that's being passed from our MSTP to our IP or to other MSTP networks, we're just going to send another frame or another bit of information from that JACE to our capture tool. So that's going to be on the IP side, but it shouldn't be adding too much additional stuff to our MSTP side or MSTP trunk.
Another one. What is the process following an offline capture?
So when we've taken an offline capture, we would then have to just go and get these captures, which are often usually located in the program files. So we just go into our softwares, or we'll go into our program files 86, then we'll go into our Optical Capture tool, and then we'll see captures there in a folder, and we'll be able to have all our PCAPs stored there. So we do have links or so, and we do obviously with the support and with Zendesk, we do have links and all these step-by-step guides showing you where exactly we're going to click or showing you the link you need to check. So it is going to just be in your own files there when you have your when you do capture that up, or when you do take your captures offline. From there, it would just be in standard folders. So we're just going to have to drag and drop them into our Visual BACnet, or we're going to have to just bring them to, as I say, if we don't have an internet connection, maybe put them onto some storage and then bring them somewhere else to be uploaded.
And of course, if you run into any issues, we're here to help.
Absolutely.
Are there types of issues that can occur on the MSTP trunk that will not be visible to the JACE and thus not able to be captured?
We are not circulating the token passings information. So if there's something to do with longest round trip time or anything to do with your token passing information, as we see if we click onto our side there, if we go back to our summary, maybe one or two fields here just to do with, where are we going? Response time, or if we have our token passing there. Now and again, we will have, if we're having that information, so we do have token passing information may not always be recirculated or will not be sent about. So if there is something like that, we wouldn't be able to capture that, but maybe still be recaptured in some form of longest response time or something there that will still alert us and notify us to it, but we won't be getting anything specific on the token passing.
Can you run a wiretap from multiple JACEs simultaneously and capture from a single PC?
Yes, so I believe that when we're capturing, the same as if we had loaded, like if we have a small network with a bit of traffic passing, or if we have a large network with multiple traffic passing, that capture tool is just capturing information on that port. So whether it's being sent to it from one location or being sent to it from 10 locations, we're still going to capture that. So we can, yes, have one capture tool, and that really is that handy feature, because previously we wouldn't be able to have one MSTP capture tool look after multiple MSTP networks or MSTP trunks, but now we can have those JACEs sending it to one capture tool. So we are really reducing that need for multiple capture tools around the place, and a lot of that having to go initiate multiple captures or set up a lot of schedules. We just have that one location.
I don't see any other questions just now, but of course, if you have more questions, please feel free to type them in. Tom, is there anything else that we needed to cover in this webinar? I feel like we've covered so much.
No, I believe we have everything there. Yep, no, I think we have. If of course there are any other questions or anyone does have any more information, or after trying to play around or set this up, as we say, that support chat is there. We're always happy to help, and we're always happy to try jump on and find a new issue to try resolve or something like that. So yeah, we're always happy to help you guys. But I believe for the moment, I think we've covered most of what we need to cover.
Perfect. Okay. I don't see any other questions coming in, but I will be sending the recording of this webinar likely tomorrow over email. So if you have any follow-up questions, anything you didn't get to ask during the webinar or that you think of later, feel free to let me know and I'll connect you with the right folks to help out. But thank you so much again, everyone, for joining on this webinar. It was really exciting to share this feature with you. And thank you, Tom, for guiding us through all of the technical side of this. It's great to get to share this with everyone.
All right, thanks very much, Natalie. Appreciate it now. And thanks everyone for your time.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe so that you never miss a video.